We will now introduce today's witnesses. Mr. Kenneth Marcus. Mr. Marcus is the founder and chairman of the Louis D. Brandeis Center for Human Rights Under Law. He previously served as the Assistant Secretary of Education for Civil Rights, the staff director of the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights, and as Deputy Assistant Secretary of Housing and Urban Development for Fair Housing and Equal Opportunity. We appreciate your work, Mr. Marcus, and thank you for being with us. Professor Mr. Marcus, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Chairman Jordan, Ranking Member Nadler, distinguished members.
Make sure you got the mic. Make sure your mic's on there.
Chairman Jordan,
there you go. Thank you.
Ranking Member Nadler, distinguished members, friends, brave students. Thank you for conducting this important hearing today. I am chairman of the Louis D. Brandeis Center for Human Rights Under Law and former head of the U.S. Department of Education's Office for Civil Rights. At the Louis D. Brandeis Center, we fight anti-Semitism on college campuses, and I appreciate the kind words from both the chairman and ranking member about the work that we're doing, more work than ever before. I would have said, if this were October 6th, that we have never seen more anti-Semitism on college campuses than we were seeing on October 6th. Our staff was stretched. We were getting more complaints on a daily basis than ever before, and by far. We look back with nostalgia at those days because in a week since October 7, we're hearing from more students than we would in a month or more before October 6th. Incidents have gone through the roof. Let's think about that. We're talking about a situation in which there was mass murder of civilians, organized rape, torture, and desecration of corpses. And the immediate reaction on many, many college campuses was for student organizations to go out and celebrate the murders, the rapes, the torture. For so many students that we work with, and you may get a sense of this from the brave words that you've heard today from these students, what they're facing is an extraordinary shock and the difficulty of realizing that the masks are down and the students who they thought were their friends are celebrating murders of people just like them. This is partly about...
Committee will be in order.
Anti-Semitism is not anti-Zionism is not anti-Semitism. We are not against Jewish people where it makes the Israeli state.
This is an issue of speech, and it's also an issue of civil rights. Again and again, we are seeing Jewish college students who are being prevented from expressing not only their viewpoints, but an integral part of their identity. For many Jewish Americans, not all, but for many Jewish Americans, Zionism, a commitment to the Jewish state of Israel, is an important part of their identity. And so when they are excluded as Zionists, they feel this as exclusion as Jews. A rule against Zionists is a rule against Jews. Even before October 7, we were finding that large numbers of college students, including strongly self-identified Jewish college students, such as people who were living in Jewish fraternities and sororities, were unwilling on a consistent basis to express their Jewish identity. Majorities were saying that they sometimes felt it necessary to conceal their Jewish identity, including in particular their support for the state of Israel. In many cases, we saw this not just as toxic, hostile environments, but as specific actions to exclude Jewish students who have that as a part of their identity. For instance, at Tufts and the University of Southern California, clients of the Brandeis Center were members of student government facing organized efforts to exclude them, to throw them out of student government because, as Jews, they support the state of Israel. Similarly, this is difficult, but I have to say, at SUNY New Paltz, we had 2 clients who were thrown out of a sexual assault survivors group because Zionism was an important part of their identity. At the University of Vermont, similar issues, as well as a book club in which one could not participate if one was a Zionist. Here we found viewpoint discrimination, but not just viewpoint discrimination. That is to say, people were shunned, marginalized, and excluded, not just because of their political views, but because who they are and what their identity is as Jews. At my own alma mater, the University of California at Berkeley School of Law, many student Organizations, including law reviews, have adopted rules, including bylaws and changes to their constitutions, that prevent anyone from speaking to their groups who is a Zionist or a supporter of the State of Israel. And let me be clear, they were prevented from speaking and are, to this day, prevented from speaking on any topic. This was not just a statement that if your viewpoint disagrees with us, we don't want to hear you. This was, if you are a Zionist, we don't want to hear you on any topic. If you are a feminist legal scholar, we don't want to hear you on feminist legal issues if you are a supporter of Israel, which is to say, most Jewish Americans would not be able to speak to these groups because of their identity as Jews. Since October 7th, this has skyrocketed. We are hearing continually of Jewish students being assaulted, Jewish property being vandalized, Jewish students being harassed in any number of different ways, not just on a few college campuses that one might describe as hotspots, but at so many colleges and universities that one cannot identify any places that are safe. A few quick suggestions, if I may. First, the Department of Education should have the same tools to protect students' free speech that it has to protect the very important issues of anti-discrimination. Second, a coordinator within the department to protect free speech. Third, the Department of Education has committed to issue a regulation implementing the Executive Order on Combating Anti-Semitism and has set a deadline of next month. Be nice to ask them if they're going to do it. And finally, the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act would provide for the Department of Education a codified definition of anti-Semitism similar to what's used around the world and has been embraced by this administration. I would suggest that action needs to be taken, and I commend you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Marcus.